Welcome to Connect Church Online. We're so glad you chose to join us today. In just a moment, we have a song for you I think you'll enjoy. Then I'll bring the message in our series we're calling Walking to the Well. We'll be together for about 15 minutes, but first, let me take just a moment to let you know how you can connect with us and keep up with the events and goings on here at Connect Church Waco. I also want to let you know how you can give and support what we're doing if you'd like to do that. Get your cell phone and text Connect Church to 94,000. That's the words Connect Church to 94,000. This will provide you with a link to both connect with us and to give if you'd like, or you can go to our website, connectwaco.com/give. If you're in the Waco area, please put next Sunday, June 25th at 6 p.m. on your calendar for our Sunday night celebration right here in the Connect Church Auditorium. We're going to have a great evening together and you won't want to miss it. Again, that's next Sunday, June 25th at 6 p.m. right here in the Connect Church Auditorium. Thank you so much for connecting with us and supporting what we're doing here at Connect Church in Waco. I hope you enjoy this week's online celebration.
Speak to me when the silence steals my voice. You understand me. You understand me. Come to me in the valley of unknowns. You understand me. You understand me. You understand me, God. You understand me. So I throw all my cares before you. My doubts and fears don't scare you. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought. So I stop all negotiations with the God of all creation. You're bigger than I thought you were. Bigger than I thought you were. So I will rest in the Father's hands. Leave the rest in the Father's hands. Hands, leave the rest in the Father's hand. So I throw all my cares before you. My doubts and fears don't scare you. You're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought. So I stop all negotiations with the God of all creation. Bigger than I thought you were. Bigger than I thought. Yes, you're bigger than I thought you were. You're bigger than I thought you were.
This week, Lisa and I celebrated 42 years of being married. And I have to confess that when we were first married, I had a lot to learn. Now, don't misunderstand me, I'm still learning, but back then I had a lot to learn. We were both bringing the ways of two different people and two different families into even two different cultures. After all, I'm a Texan and she's a Yankee. And the first meal she fixed for us after we got home from our honeymoon had vegetables but no meat. And I asked, "Where's the meat?" She answered, "Well, we didn't always have meat for dinner." To which, in a very jerk fashion, I replied, "What? No meat? We always have meat for dinner." Well, just so you know, I eventually saw what a jerk I was and asked her to forgive me. Over the years, Lisa and I learned to blend all those things into a new culture, new ways of doing things, into a new family. Learning the ways of other cultures helps us to open doors to communicate with them. Let me show you what I mean. Recently, Lisa and I were in California with our granddaughter, Caitlin, and for dinner one evening, I went to get us some food from a little Thai food truck. And the woman who took my order appeared to be from Thailand. So while I've never been to Thailand, I have been to Cambodia, which is right next door, and I thought there might be a similar custom in our country. So as I thanked her for the food, I greeted her by bowing with my hands together, and her face lit up, and she also bowed with her hands together. Because I used something from her culture, I honored her culture. Well, through life, we will all encounter new things, new ways of thinking and living, and that's just part of life. That's part of growing as a person. Our part is to learn to choose what to embrace as part of our life and what not to embrace. If you're a follower of Jesus, you learn to embrace what Jesus embraces. Jesus often did things that left his followers confused. Why? Because they were having to learn new ways of thinking and living. They were learning Jesus's ways of thinking and living. Because the whole point of following Jesus is to learn his ways of thinking and living. Now, why is that important? Because the way we think determines the way we live. Let me say that again. The way we think determines the way we live. The Apostle Paul wrote about this in the New Testament letter that we know as the book of Romans chapter 12 and verse 2. Paul said, "Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person." Now listen carefully to this. By changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. When we begin to think Jesus' way, we can influence the world around us as Jesus did. The story we're looking for in this series is a significant event in the life of Jesus, and it left his followers confused and scratching their heads. As we go back to the story in the New Testament letter of John chapter 4, Jesus is talking to a Samaritan woman at the well, the woman who's been divorced by her husband 5 different times and is living with a man who's not her husband. She's been rejected by her neighbors, and that's why she comes to the well at noon rather than in the morning. Jesus was at the well to meet and bring healing and salvation to her. Where others had rejected her, Jesus came to show her that he loved her and accepted her just as she was. He does something in his conversation with her that he only does one other time that we read of in the New Testament, as he plainly tells her in verse 26, "I am the Messiah." And I love the way verse 27 is written. Just then, his disciples came back and they were shocked to find him talking to a woman. But none of them had the nerve to ask, "What did you want with her?" or "Why are you talking to her?" His followers were shocked because of 2 things. One, that he was talking to her and she's a Samaritan. Remember, the Jews and Samaritans did not like each other and did not get along. And 2, it was not culturally acceptable for a man, especially a Jewish teacher or rabbi, to speak with a woman in a public place. Women were not to be spoken to in the street or taught the Jewish law. Jesus made an emotional and spiritual connection with this woman because he took the time to speak with her and minister to her in spite of her heritage as a Samaritan and with no condemnation of her past. Jesus opened her eyes to the realization that he, the Messiah, cared enough about her to reach out to her. She had an immediate response. Verse 28 tells us, "The woman left her water jar beside the well and ran back to the village, telling everyone, 'Come see a man who told me everything I ever did. Could he possibly be the Messiah?' So the people came streaming from the village to see him." This woman was the key to Jesus ministering to everyone in this village. They wanted to come and see Jesus for themselves. They wanted to encounter Jesus for themselves. You should expect Jesus to shock you at times too. He will lead you, he will teach you, he will test you, and at times he will shock you. Because Jesus wants to move you out of your comfort zone and into his ways of thinking and living. To do that, he will use these methods to move us. When we choose to follow Jesus, we don't just add him to our life. We turn from our life to follow him and learn his ways. And when we do, there will be times when Jesus shocks us. When he does, and we allow him to move us out of our comfort zone, we will discover new things about him and his ways of living that we never knew before. Our relationship with him will become deeper and richer, and when Jesus shocks us out of our comfort zone, we will encounter opportunities to experience people that we would probably never have the opportunity to know otherwise. Our relationship with Jesus and with others will become deeper and richer than ever before. Thank you for joining us here at Connect Church Waco today. I pray you have a very blessed week, and I hope to see you here again next week.